Scott Jennings walked into that studio thinking he owned the room. He always does. He's built his entire cable news career on one thing, being the smuggest, most unbothered Republican in the room, triggering liberals, talking over them, dismissing them with that signature smirk. And for a long time, it worked. People feared debating him. Networks kept booking him. MAGA loved him for it. But something happened recently on live television that nobody saw coming, and the internet absolutely lost its mind over it. A younger, sharper, and frankly more prepared debater walked in, sat across from Scott Jennings, and systematically dismantled him, piece by piece, argument by argument, until Scott Jennings, the man who loves to trigger the libs, completely lost his composure on national television. Before we dive in, if this kind of content is your thing, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a moment like this one. Because trust me, this one is special. The man who did this is Adam Mockler of Midas Touch, a liberal media powerhouse that has been growing fast and punching way above its weight. And I'll be honest with you, I've always been proud of Adam. He's smart, he's prepared, and he doesn't back down. But this time? This time he reached another level entirely. What unfolded on that CNN panel wasn't just a debate win. It was a masterclass in how you expose someone who has been hiding behind confidence and bluster rather than actual facts. Adam came armed with receipts. He came with timelines. He came with specific, pointed questions that Scott Jennings simply could not answer. And the moment Scott realized he was losing, not just on points, but in front of millions of viewers, he didn't double down with better arguments. He didn't pivot gracefully. He melted down. Completely. On live TV. And we are going to walk through the entire thing, in chronological order, so you don't miss a single beautiful moment of it. It all started with the Iran war, a topic Scott Jennings has been cheerleading for with remarkable enthusiasm and equally remarkable overconfidence. For weeks, Jennings and his MAGA allies were out there making bold predictions. 4 to 6 weeks, they said. That's all it would take. Trump's military campaign would wrap up cleanly, Iran's nuclear program would be finished, and everyone who doubted them would be forced to eat crow. Adam Mockler remembered every single one of those predictions. So when Scott sat down and started running the same victory lap routine, Adam stopped him cold. He asked a simple, direct question: where is the enriched uranium right now? Is it in the United States or is it still in Iran? Because Iran still has the uranium. They still have the scientists. They still have the blueprints backed up in the cloud. And Scott Jennings, for all his bluster and bravado, had absolutely no answer. Just deflection. Just the same tired line, "It's not over yet." And that's when Adam went in for the kill. He pointed out something that the entire pundit class should be held accountable for: the goalpost moving. You said 4 to 6 weeks, Adam reminded him. It has now been 8 weeks. The mission is not accomplished. The uranium is not in American hands. The nuclear program has not been dismantled. And yet here you are, Scott, still acting like things are going exactly according to plan. That's not confidence. That's denial. And Adam named it clearly: either you were wrong or you were lying. One of the two. Because those predictions were made loudly and publicly and with enormous certainty, and they turned out to be false. What's the appropriate response when your bold predictions collapse? A little humility. Maybe some acknowledgement that things didn't go the way you said. But instead, Scott Jennings continues taking victory laps right up until the moment the wheels fall off, and then he implodes, sometimes within 6 to 12 hours of his own declarations. It's a pattern. And Adam called it out perfectly. But the debate didn't stop at failed predictions and moving goalposts. It went somewhere much heavier and much more important. Because one of the most disturbing aspects of this entire conflict isn't just the military strategy, it's the language being used to justify it. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, has been publicly boasting about showing no quarter, untying the hands of war fighters, and inflicting maximum pain and maximum casualties. That is not the language of a democracy defending itself. That is something far more alarming. And then came the news that stopped people in their tracks: a confirmed strike on an Iranian elementary school. 160 schoolgirls. The United States military, under the command of Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, double-tapped that building with Tomahawk missiles. Independent investigations from the New York Times and a preliminary DoD report both confirmed U.S. responsibility. And the initial response from the administration? They lied about it. That is not a political opinion. That is a documented war crime. Now when these kinds of actions get brought up in debate, what you often hear from the pro-war side is a retreat into what Adam brilliantly called bird law, this idea that in wartime, normal rules, normal logic, and normal dictionary definitions simply don't apply anymore. It's Thunderdome. Anything goes. And that framing is incredibly dangerous. Because that's precisely why the Geneva Convention was created. In the aftermath of the Second World War, the global community looked at the atrocities that had been committed and made a collective decision: never again. Rules of engagement exist for a reason. They exist to preserve the basic dignity of human life even in the most violent and chaotic circumstances imaginable. Shrugging off the bombing of a school full of children by saying, well, it's war, we do what we gotta do, that's not strength. That's moral bankruptcy. And the fact that some people on television are defending it, even enthusiastically, should disturb every single person watching regardless of their politics. That's not a partisan point. That is a basic human one. And now we arrive at the moment the internet cannot stop talking about. The moment that is spreading across every platform and every timeline. Adam Mockler looked Scott Jennings dead in the eyes and asked him one simple question: name one political concession. Just one. If this war is going as well as you keep claiming, if the pressure campaign is working, if the strategy is sound, then surely there is at least one concrete political concession you can point to. Name it. Scott couldn't. Instead of answering, he started getting visibly agitated. His voice rose. His composure cracked. And Adam, calm as ever, asked the question again. Can you name a single political concession? And that was it. Scott Jennings, the man who built his brand on never getting rattled, on always having the last word, on making liberals squirm, completely lost it on live television. The anchor had to step in. The other panelists were visibly trying not to laugh. And the host, you could see her looking down, doing everything in her power to keep a straight face. It was extraordinary television. Here's why this moment matters beyond just the entertainment value, and trust me, the entertainment value is enormous. Scott Jennings has spent years cultivating this image of the unflappable conservative intellectual. The guy who stays cool while everyone else gets emotional. The guy who makes the left look hysterical while he calmly dismantles their arguments. That image is now shattered. Because when Adam Mockler, a younger man with a fraction of Scott's media exposure, simply asked him to back up his claims with facts, Scott had nothing. No facts. No concessions to name. No accomplishments to point to. Just anger. Just condescension. Just a man who is used to being unchallenged suddenly realizing he is being challenged in a way he cannot handle. And the condescension he threw back at Adam? Adam addressed it directly and brilliantly: you're making condescending remarks because you can't defend the fact that this war is not going your way. Devastating. Accurate. And completely unanswerable. That is how you win a debate. The debate then shifted to the DOJ and to a word that has become increasingly impossible to avoid: fascism. Now here is where things get particularly interesting. Some people on the right, including guests on this very panel, argued that calling Donald Trump a fascist is beyond the line. That the word is too loaded, too extreme, too inflammatory. And I would simply ask, where was that concern when Trump himself repeatedly called his political opponents fascists, communists, and Marxists? Because he did. Repeatedly. Publicly. As the sitting president of the United States. If the word is so dangerous and so beyond acceptable political discourse, then the person with the most responsibility for not using it is the most powerful person in the country. Trump has used it. MAGA has used it. And nobody on the right said a word. So the argument collapses completely. If you don't want the word fascist in the conversation, start by telling the president to stop using it first. Because his words carry more weight than anyone else's in this country. Period. So where does this leave us? Scott Jennings will be back on television next week. He'll act like none of this happened. He'll take new victory laps on whatever the next story is. That's what these people do. But the clip exists. The internet has it. Millions of people have already seen it and millions more will. And Adam Mockler, friend of this show and one of the sharpest voices in progressive media right now, deserves every bit of credit for this. He was smarter than Scott. He was better prepared than Scott. He was calmer than Scott. And he wasn't even trying to trigger him. He was simply doing what good journalists and good debaters are supposed to do, asking direct questions and demanding direct answers. Scott Jennings couldn't deliver. And now everyone knows it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I want to hear your reaction to this debate, to Scott's meltdown, and to Adam's performance. Drop it below. And if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you're always first in line for moments exactly like this one.